Wonderful. Well, this is really the last and most simple step, but it actually makes one of the biggest differences in your sales process. Because a salesperson, selfish one, once they get the deal, they're not going to care. They're going to basically not want to speak to the customer again. But a professional consultant, someone who's built relationship with the customer, who actually cares about the customer, they are going to call again because they have a relationship and they really, really genuinely care. And selfishly, it's a smart thing to do because, again, people do business with people they trust, and people trust people that care about them because they feel they have their best interest in mind. And so you want to show that you care. It's best for your customer, and it's also the best for you from a selfish perspective. And so all this is calling the next day. That's the majority of it. And so if we go to the next slide there, after the close, once you've earned the business, don't get too excited. If you're not careful, this is where you could lose the business. Remember to thank the customer for their business. Show them that you appreciate them by 2 more follow-up calls. Key thing is in the white text that don't get excited. And don't get discouraged either when you don't get the deal. Always be neutral. Don't get too excited. Don't get too discouraged. Always keep an even keel. Because otherwise, if you get too excited, if something doesn't work out the way you expected, it can actually really hurt you and make you feel bad and impact future deals. And if you get too discouraged when people say no, then you're not going to have a good energy to get deals in the future and make the next one count. So always maintain an even disposition in terms of your emotions, I would say.
Excellent.
You want to read this?
Yeah, and we've all been seeing the average salesperson versus the expert high-earning consultant quite a bit. So here we go again. I'm going to talk about the average salesperson. So the average salesperson leaves the sale and doesn't look back. They don't follow up the next day. They don't follow up when the business is complete. They do not get referrals from friends and families, and it's not remembered by the customer. So, those are all negative things. Do you want to talk about those compared to the expert high earning consultant, Anthony?
Yes, for sure, Andrew. Thank you. So the high earning expert consultant thanks the customer with a firm handshake, shows his appreciation. He calls and follows the next day, and he follows up even after the product or service is done or installed. He follows up, like I said, when the service is completed, and he's remembered by the customer because he cared, and so he gets referrals. You're not going to believe this. I haven't worked for Reliance for like 3 years. I get calls and text messages still to this day of people wanting to do business with me or referring people. To this day, I haven't worked for them for years. People remember me, and it's because I did show I cared. Going the extra mile when someone had no heat, their furnace was not working. I left space heaters in their home that I had in my car, so they can sleep comfortably with their kids until we get there the next day with the installation. It's those things that show that you care, that people remember it and they appreciate it, and they will pay you back.
That's awesome. Anthony, I want to talk about a big ticket item that you and I have both experienced, the real estate agent. I'm going to talk about real estate agents I dealt with, and even having to fire a real estate agent to find another one. So what I'd love you to do, and this isn't part of the initial presentation, but I think it's a really good example. So when I was looking for this particular house here, I had a real estate agent that I really liked. Unfortunately, this house was outside of his area, so he recommended me to someone he knew in the area. Here's what happened. The day of, we met the real estate agent at a cafe. And my wife said, "Why are we meeting her at a cafe? Why aren't we going to meet her at the actual house?" And so it was weird. So we met her there. She said hi to us. It was nice. We had a coffee first. But my wife and I were thinking, like, we want to get going. We want to see houses. Finally, around 9 o'clock, she says, "Do you mind if we take your car?" So we said, sure. So the real estate agent got into the back seat of our car and drove us to the house we were going to go to. And then she said, drive slowly down the driveway so we make sure no one else is there. And we were like, this seems weird. Finally, we got to the house and she looked around and she was looking at her cell phone a lot during the call, like nervously. After she had taken us through the place, she said, so another couple is going to be here very, very soon. Could you do me a favor? Can we leave right now so they don't see us? So we left and we took her back to where we were going, and then she said, well, since we're already in the car, why don't you guys drive to all the rest of the appointments today? So we drove about 150 kilometers to appointments all over the place on our tank of gas. And we saw a lot of houses. She did a good job at each house, but then we dropped her off again out of our way at her place. And that ended our day.
What the heck?
Then what happened is we got a call from her, and it turns out that, at least what we felt like it, that she was actually selling to another client in the exact same day in the exact same house. So she didn't want us taking her car because the client would have recognized her car. That
what
was,
are your thoughts on that?
what were my thoughts? I just felt really uncomfortable. Now let me tell you about the next salesman. He called us and he says, I want to help you get your house, so we're going to meet. He met us there with another salesman who actually specialized in our area. So he actually brought a team member along with him who specialized in rural properties. He was an expert in city properties, but not rural. So he brought an expert consultant along with him, and we saw the house. We looked around. We sat down together at the kitchen table together afterwards. We read the contract. We signed it. We agreed on the offer. And he left, and his consultant stayed to answer questions. And at the end of the day, the deal was done, and we got the house.
That's a great experience. What a professional.
So talk to me about the difference between the two. And maybe we don't need to talk about all the weird stuff, but I mean, that might be part of it too. Talk to me about average versus expert.
Well, to be honest, I would not say that's average. I would say that's unethical and pretty poor in my opinion. Even her mindset is poor. Doesn't even want to spend gas. I mean, doesn't want to give. That's a pure taker salesperson. Like, if you have her picture, we can actually put her there, because that would actually be accurate representation. Like, if I was you, I would have felt like I'm cheating on my wife or something. Why do we have to hide at the house? What the hell is going on? Like, that is, and no wonder she didn't get the business, because when you take, you don't get. When you give, you receive. And even this person, you know what they did? The expert salesperson probably split his commission by getting the expert in the area to come, but he did that to give value, right? So he gave something up, gave value to you, and in exchange, he did receive something. He did make a commission. He got the deal. And so that is a true selfless expert consultant salesperson who would be the gold standard in sales. And no wonder you did business with him.
Yeah. Turns out that real estate agent is also a business coach for high earning executives.
Wow.
And it turns
Great
out also that when I found out afterwards that he didn't make any money on the deal, but he did it because the person I called in a favor. So he made nothing on the deal at all, but he did it because that's his standard.
Now that's a true person of integrity.
Yeah. So let's jump into the quote of the day.
You want to say it?
I guess I could. Make them feel cared for by being thankful and accessible. So easy. Make them feel cared for by being cared for. I'm going to say that again and edit that part out. Make them feel cared for by being thankful and accessible.
This is so important because people are always scared of the stigma of salespeople that after the deal they disappear because they got what they wanted. If you're around after to just make them feel like they care, they will appreciate that and trust you. I hate to use this example, but it comes to my mind. It's like you don't want to be a one night stand salesperson. You get what you want. Okay, thank you. Like I'm leaving to go home or whatever. You don't want to be like that. You want to stick around and show that you care. Sure. So what shark proofing is, it's a way to ensure that your sale doesn't get eaten by a shark, meaning that someone else doesn't swoop in and kind of mess everything up. And so the way you do that is you prime and prepare your customer for any turbulence that may be coming. So I'll give two great examples of this. One thing is in telecommunications, when you're switching them over from one provider to another, the win back department, which is a loyalty department, will call the customer and try to make them cancel with you and keep the business. And so one way they do this is offering discounts. So an example of how it's shark proof is before that happens, I'll tell them, hey, just so you know, this product I'm selling you is valued at so and so price. So for you to stay with your current provider, honestly, they'd have to give you at least a $40 discount for it to be worth it. Because if they don't give you that, it's honestly not worth it. So I put it in their mind that they'd have to discount it $40 for it to be worth the same as what our product's worth in terms of quality. But I already know that the competition can only discount it $30. I already know that. So I know they're not going to be able to meet the expectation I set in the customer's mind. And so when the competitor calls to save their business, they won't be able to, because I already planted the seed in their mind. Hey, this is what they need to do for it to make sense. So that's an example. Another example, it doesn't have to be a competitor. It can be a family member or friend of the customer that may not be excited or may not believe in the product or service they're buying. So one way I would kind of chart proof them is that ask them after the sale, oh, okay, I'm so excited for you. You excited? Yes. Oh, that's awesome. So who's the first person you're going to tell about this, by the way? Oh, I'm going to tell my aunt. Oh, that's great. That's awesome. And why your aunt? Oh, she knows a lot about this stuff. Oh, that's awesome. And you think she's going to be excited? Yeah, probably. Oh, okay. And if she tells you, you overpaid for it, it's a bad deal or whatever, what are you going to tell her? Just ask. What are you going to tell her? Oh, I'm going to tell her no. Okay, and why? Wouldn't she overpay? Oh, well, like you said, there's a warranty and this quality, and there's this kind of savings we can expect. I'll be like, yeah, exactly. Because, it's funny, not a lot of people know about those things. But because your aunt is interested, I'm sure she'll love to actually hear about those aspects and also why you made this great decision. So I just already set it up for what they're going to say when someone tries to interfere. I already put the answers in their mind. So they're already primed. They're already basically conditioned to stick to their guns and stick to their decision with you. That's shark proofing, and it's important because it's going to save a lot of business and make you a lot of money.
That's great. I remember when I was working with a company in London, the day that I signed on with them, the salesperson, I remember him doing that, and I didn't understand what it was. But he basically said, so who are you excited to tell this to? And I said, probably my wife. And he's like, well, do you think that she'd like to get involved? And I said, I don't know. And he said, would you like to get her on the call right now? And I said, well, she's actually with our children right now, so it's probably not the best time. And he's like, oh, I can't wait to meet her. And just so you know, like, this company is all about family, and we care about family, and we care about your time. And the kind of money that you're going to make in this company is going to allow you to spend more time with your wife. If you really believe in your product, there's no reason why you shouldn't say the things like that to your customers, because you want them to have the best product.
Yeah, and a lot of people, and I love that you shared that, by the way. That was, it's a great technique because, you spend 2-3 hours educating the customer, teaching them why this makes sense. A layperson or someone who's not gone through that kind of, training as you, they may not know, they may not understand, they might have misconceptions. And even though they have the best intention in their heart, they might actually be hurting your customer by advising them wrongly to not do business with you and your company. And so that's why it's so important to shark proof. So, even someone with the best intention but the wrong information doesn't kind of mess up the deal and hurt your customer as well as your commission.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's calling the next day. So, um, after the sale, the following day, give them a call to see how they feel, check in with them, ask if they have any questions, because a lot of times people make decisions emotionally. And then afterwards, the logical part of their brain is there as like an auditor to make sure, oh, was this okay? Was this right? And so they might have questions after the deal. You want to make sure they're answered because the logical part justifies the emotional decision. That's how it works in sales from a psychology or neurological standpoint. And so you want them to feel cared about. And also, selfishly, if there is any concern or problem or someone spoke to them or said something bad, you want to be able to deal with it before they bring it up to you and before it becomes a bigger problem. And so that's also why you're calling, to make sure that everything is smooth and everything's good to go. And you can feel peace of mind that the deal is going to go through and you're going to actually get paid for your hard work.
Hmm. I want to give an example here. If you're married or if you are dating, if you've ever taken someone out and it becomes a serious relationship that night, and the next day you want to call them and make them feel great because they have just shared part of their life with you. So why shouldn't we think the same way with sales? This person has just given something of value to you. It doesn't matter if it's $5 or $10,000 or $100,000. They had a relationship with you, and you need to call to let them know, I'm so glad you're part of my life.
Yeah.
It's so simple. When I met my wife, the day that I proposed to her, the next day, I was on the phone chatting with her because I was so excited because we're going to spend the rest of our life together. This is so amazing. And I know that you get a cell phone and it's a contract for 2 years, so it's not the rest of your life. But I actually haven't ever had a cell phone company call me the next day thanking me for their business. Maybe they should.
Well, I mean, they should. They're a phone company. They should literally call you.
Yeah.
But that's very true. And you know what? This will increase, actually, by doing this, it'll increase your income by at least 10 to 20%, because that's typically the amount of people that have second thoughts after the deal. So just by a quick call, 5 minutes on the phone, probably less, you increase your income 10 to 20%, which can be a lot of money.
All right, step 2. So next day, so call one last time after it's all done. So once the project service is completed, whether it's installation or whatever it is, you just call them one last time after it's done. Make sure they're happy. That's really important. They've just purchased from you. It doesn't matter what the price is, they just purchased from you, so make sure they're happy. The reason you want to do that is that it's going to lead to referrals, because when they feel cared for, they'll refer you to their friends and family because they want to be with people who care with them, and they want the people that they care about being cared for too. So if you do a good job with a little, you're going to be doing a lot more business afterwards because you're going to get a lot more referrals. What do you think about that, Anthony?
Yeah, this is one of the things that separate an expert from an average salesperson. If you don't ask for something, you can't really expect to receive it. And so the best thing to do is, after the project is finished, or they receive the promise from your company, whatever is a service, ask them for referral. Ask if they're happy, if they enjoyed it. Let them know that anything they need, they can still reach out to you. And you know what? Something I did that made a big difference for every one of my customers. During the installation day, I came and I brought them a custom gift. I brought them a wooden plaque with their last name on it, saying, for example, Craig family. And it was beautiful, custom made. I had my friend's wife make it. I would buy them from her, and I would give it to each of my customers. They hang it up in their house. Every time they look at it, they think of me, because I gave them a meaningful gift tailored to them. Things like that get you a ton of referrals, because they're going to always think about you and that furnace you sold them. like for years to come. And so I did that, and now 2-3 years later, I still get phone calls.
That's great. I know that this one step, if I had have known this earlier in my career, I would have made a lot more money faster. And also just the I know there's buyer remorse that people get when they buy something they didn't want, but there can also be salesman remorse where you lost a deal and you're just sad because, wow, I spent so much energy in that and nothing happened. So this could be this is, you're saying 10 to 20%. This is 10 to 20% of more deals getting done. So that's a big bottom line at the end of the year.
20% of $200,000 is $40,000. That's someone's annual income.
Yeah,
that's a lot of extra money in your pocket.
It's true. So let's talk the pro tip.
Calling is caring. Thanking is caring. This leads to trust. Trust leads to referrals. Pretty self-explanatory, pretty true. As you give value, as you care, the customer will care for you, and you're going to always get it back in spades.
Wonderful. So here we are. We have just done the 7 elements of sales. Congratulations to everyone who has made it this far. And this is just the beginning of your 6-figure income career moving forward. You are now on the precipice of becoming a precision sales generalist. That is such an important thing. You're not a salesman anymore or a saleswoman. You're a precision sales generalist because now you have a process to follow. You have a way of looking at life. You're not going to be a specialist anymore. You are going to be someone who can literally sell any product to anyone, anywhere, because you have a 7-step process that's the basis of any strong salesperson. So it's precision, and you're a salesperson, which is all about persuasion. You will now be able to lead people from a place of being unsure to a place of peace, knowing that their product, your product, is the product for them, and they'll feel good about buying that product.